Hello, and welcome along to the stream tonight. I hope that everybody is doing well. Uh, Thank you very much for doing that, Maurice. So, Maurice contacted me just before the stream to uh, ask what we were going to be working on tonight, and he's playing with I think it's a new feature in the feature.chat plugin that we use on the stream um, to highlight uh, chat messages that have come in, and we want folks to see it. And there's also a new one which says what we're going to be working on tonight. So what you're seeing at the bottom is what the plan is for tonight. So last week we finished off the Git Release Manager release that we were working on, and tonight the plan is to update a pull request that I have open into the Cake repository. So that's this one here. So with the latest release of Chocolatey, we added support for an export command, and the Cake aliases, or the Cake alias for Chocolatey, didn't yet have that export command. So I added in that functionality, and I got some feedback on the PR. So this was a while back. This was back in December, and I got some feedback from Matthias that said I should change some stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get that updated. And if that works, oh, hello Nils and Maurice. The chat isn't showing on the stream. Why is that? Hold on. Let's see if I don't think I've changed anything there. I'm gonna have to wait and see. Hold on, let's get that working. Um, hmm. Well, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry, that's not the one I'm looking at. No, it is, isn't it? No, that's not the one. Chat window. Um, there'd be nothing to suggest. Can you send, Maurice, go and send another one through, please? Hey, Nils, if I didn't say hello, by the way, sorry. That's bizarre. Why would that suddenly... Now, I know that there was... That's one of the things I was going to mention before I go into anything tonight. I saw someone on Twitter mentioning that there was stuff happening with an API shutdown or something, but I didn't think that was going to be tonight. So, I mean, I can try adding it again. Let's try adding another source that is that and see what happens. Okay. Can one of you send a message again, please? I've just re-added the source in the hope that that will make things work, but that's clearly not working either. Okay, hold on. Let's do that. Sure. Let's do that. Sure. Oh, no, that is a little worrying. Now, OBS or Streamlabs OBS did open or update just before I came on stream, but it did seem to all be working. So I don't know why it would suddenly not be working or not. Okay, try again, Maurice, or Nils, if you don't mind. Hey, I did update. I've done it before, Nils, and it's never caused me a problem. So I don't know for why that wouldn't work. Hey, Jurgen, I'm going to go with, hopefully. Well, let's test this. Does this work? Let's do this. See, that's still working, and it's the same system. So I'm genuinely curious as to why that's not working. Oh, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I kind of want to move on, but let's just make sure it's not a... No. Hey, Kim. I'm frantically trying to get my chat working, and I don't know why it's not working. Let's try one. I'll try one other thing, and then I will leave it. What's it called? What's the thing I'm looking for? Hey, Corey. None of those emotes are working. What's the thing I'm looking for? Streams. Let's try it as a... I'll try it as a browser source. Yes. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Nothing's changed since last week. So I'm curious as to what would have happened. I don't want this to be the stream. This is not what this... No, we can't have the squirrel going down. No. Budgets. Chat box. Fine. Copy. Okay, let's try. Get rid of this again. Delete. Okay. No, you see that? But if... No, it doesn't matter. Let's do a new one. Add a new source. Chat window. Add source. Whoa. I'm going to put this in there. Do that. Okay. Could someone send another message, please? I'm not sure if that one more. What is going on? I don't know. I'm going to put back the one that was there before in the hope that it just starts working, because I can only surmise that it's something to do with Streamlabs, because everything else seems to be working. So I think it has to be. Let's make this that. Let's make this that. Getting close. Let's put this up here. I'm just going to finish putting this back together, and then I will talk about what we're actually here to talk about, hopefully. 10. No, 15. No. That one. Okay, and then the width is going to be... We see. So that one works. So Maurice, we could just have you put every single message through a feature chat, and it would work. We're not doing that. one more. That's not quite right. 450. Close enough. Right. Um, so I recently, so on that note, Corey, I had a conversation recently with someone, and I explained why I was using Streamlabs desktop rather than OBS, and they made it clear that I should absolutely go back to using OBS, but I haven't made that jump yet. So let me catch up on what's on the chat room. I apologize for anyone who's watching the video back and doesn't see any chat in the right hand side. They absolutely should be there, but I don't know. Is it definitely turned on? Corey said yes. You updated the tool. Nothing did change. Update that broke the chat or lack of an update. I didn't do anything. No, ping more. Don't count on it. If you use a real program like OBS, you would have different issues, but not these ones, or the only important ones like the cool squirrels. Right. What was I saying before we were rudely interrupted by the lack of chat in the video? So at the time, Corey, it was the fact that OBS just didn't work. There was an update which, anytime I opened OBS, it just crashed. That's obviously been fixed now, but by the time it was fixed, I was already using Streamlabs OBS, or Streamlabs Desktop as it's now called. So it's been working away for me, so I'm happy with that. So yeah. Anyway, so I put in a PR to Cake to include the ability to use the new Choco export command. Matthias provided some feedback that I wasn't doing things correctly and that I had typos. So I'm going to go and fix those things and get that PR updated. And then if we get past that, then the intention would be to look at the Visual Studio extension for Cake. So Nils, I don't know if you saw it, but there was an email came through from the Visual Studio team saying that we're not doing something right with the current extension that we have. It was basically when we made it work for 2022. We didn't do something right, and there was an email sent through. So we need to fix that, and we also need to remove some of the functionality in the extension that's currently there because, well, we've removed it in Visual Studio Code, and we should do it the same in Visual Studio as well. I'll need to dig around and find that email, but it definitely came in, and I can't remember what it said, but there was some changes required to make it work properly. I don't think it was the case that it didn't work, but certainly that there was a change that was necessary to be more in line with what they expect on something. We broke the thing with the thing, yes. I also can't spell the, seemingly. That's one of the common things that I always mistype when I am typing anywhere. I'm going to bump this to 150 so it's a bit easier for everyone to see, including myself. 150. Might have to be 200 on this one. 200. Oh no, I didn't press enter. So let's put it back down to 150. That's maybe a bit too big. I'll get there eventually. Let's try 120. That's a bit better. Okay, so that's a misspelling of the word the. So we fix that. I'm going to say thanks for catching that. I'll get that updated. And then the suggestion was to use a file path on the output file path rather than a string. Now, originally I was going to do that, and now no one's going to believe that I was going to do that, but I was. But I changed my mind because I thought that there was a precedent in some of the other settings classes to not use a file path and in favor use a string. So I went with string, and then I went back and tried to find where I'd seen that precedence, and I couldn't find it. So let's stick with file path, and then there's a directory path as well, which is the cache location. So this one here can be a directory path. Although now that I say that, is that not the one that is a string as some of the other ones? Cache location. Or is it that one I'm thinking of? So basically I want them to be the same across them all. A year ago. Settle down, Maurice. It was December. It was only the tail end of last year. So obviously not going to be helpful. If we do string cache location, set, no. No, there is. I think there is a precedence where that one is, yes. So that one is a string in other classes. So I'm going to leave that one as a string if for no other reason to be consistent with the other classes. Okay, so one can assign a string to a file path, but not the other way around. Directory and file path indicates intent. If it's a file, so no, I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to leave that one as string cache location because it's the same as the other ones. But this one, which is the output file path, I will make a file path because it's at least on the Choco API key settings, the Choco settings, the config file settings. Yes. So if we need to, we should go back and change it everywhere as a breaking change. Maybe not a breaking change because they're intercompatible, but I'm going to leave the cache location as a string. I was going to say, on the stream tonight, we checked, and cache location is indeed a string in the other settings classes for Chocolatey. So I am going to suggest that we leave this as a string here and instead take another task to update it everywhere. So I'm going to say comment on that. Now obviously that's now going to break because that is looking for a file path. So the check for that is going to be different. And what we should do is look for log here. That would be on the base Chocolatey class, I suspect. And then we can check. I always like to look for a prior art when doing something like this so that I know so that they're the same. So I just need to find an example of where we use a file path. And I would have thought that there would have been one on there. But let's have a look in here then. Summary, description. License URL. I would have thought that there would have been one. On some of these, well, the push is bound to have one. Push has to have one. So the push is the API. How can the push not have one? Oh, because they pass it in as a non-setting. That's maybe why it is. Because it's there. And then we use it there. Because we must have. I'm basically looking for an example of how we check it for null. Because before we've just said if it's a null or white space, but now that's obviously not going to be the case. So is it just the case that if settings dot output file path, let's just take a guess, not equal to null, then output file path is a file path, so it contains a full path. Yes. Or do we need to do a environment dot? Do we want to do an environment dot make absolute? In the case of that, where you can provide a relative file path to chocolate and it'll just work. I don't think so. I'm going to leave that. So let's keep going. That is picking up on something that I haven't changed, so I'm just going to quietly ignore that just now. And then I think that was the only change. So let's see what happens. These are all using directives must be placed. Yeah, they're fine. Can I ask that someone send me a message just to make sure, because I'm worried that Twitch has gone down because it's been a bit quiet in the old chat room. I'm still recording. Okay, thank you very much. Everything's still working. Good. Glad to hear it. First time chat from viewer Christopher Straub. Good to have you along. Thank you very much. We're making some changes to a cake PR, a pull request in the cake project that I did in December last year, just getting that updated. So I'm just waiting for the build to finish. There we go. I think we can provide more details on that next week as well, Maurice, just to kind of maybe provide a little bit more insight. I do like it though. I think it's a good idea. I'll need to go back and check the feature.chat UI to see where that's being set and how you're toggling it. Okay, and then the other suggestion that not Manfred, Matthias had was that we should have additional integration tests. So maybe add integration tests, something like the chocolate aliases dot cake tests integration chocolate aliases dot cake. So where does that live? I think we would need to go into code to see that properly. So let's go in here. I don't know what's going on, Corey, and it's bugging me. Just looks blank. It looks, I don't know. Cake.common, tools. Where did Matthias suggest? Cake.com and tools. It was what I thought it was. Tools. I'm going to get annoyed at that. Tools. I don't see a chocolatey folder. Am I looking in the wrong place? Or is he suggesting that I create that? Maybe add an integration test. Oh, so we don't have any integration test for chocolatey. Okay. So what do we have in there then? So we have ones in there for tools, NuGet, and then we have IC. So let's create a new folder then. New folder, chocolate. And then in here, we're going to create one called chocolateyaliases.cake. So then we need to have new one, chocolateyaliases.cake. And then in there, he has made a suggestion, which is this. So let's make this a little bit smaller so we can check it out. And then in here, we are loading some utility helpers, and then does given directory paths.temp.combine as cake common chocolate export file path packages.config, ensure directory exists, directory path settings, output file path is file path full path, chocolate export, assert true that file exists, and then I'm assuming that that is what's happening. Okay, fine. So then, interesting. Okay, yes. And then he's got another one which is running on Windows, and you can resolve that cake.chocolate.exe is there. Then chocolate aliases task is dependent on chocolate aliases chocolate export. Okay, I like it. So how does one ensure that that gets included? So is there, or is it convention driven? I've never really looked at so we would need to add it in here. So then in our build.cake file, we include that. So in which case we would need to do copy paste cake.common / tools / chocolatey aliases.cake. Okay. So that is in the integrations build.cake. So in theory then, if I cd into tests integration and I do a cake build.cake, term cake, how about if I do a .NET cake build.cake, see what that does. I don't know why that's showing an error. No scripts found at test integration scripting cake integration test route. I wonder if I'm not invoking this correctly. Broken something. I6. What have we done here? Matthias did say as soon as I hit return there, Kim, I had the same thought. Yes, but I also thought I was going to wing it. But I've obviously broken something. So what is it failing on? Some of these things are not related to what I'm currently working on. The type or namespace, chocolatey export settings. Oh, that's because it's not running cake with cake. It's not running the latest, it's not running the integration tests with the latest cake, which needs the required setting. That at least explains part of it. So, but is there an alias that I can run, which is the integration tests then? So I'm going to say in here, prepare integration tests. What does prepare integration test do? Run integration tests. Let's maybe try that and see what that does. Because I would like to see them running before I do anything. Copy. So CD up, back up to here. And let's do a build.ps1 target equals that. So when I said that, Christopher, what I was meaning is we don't build Cake. So Cake is our build automation system that we create as an open source project. And Cake obviously builds Cake. Cake, the project, obviously builds Cake using Cake. Otherwise, we're not dog fooding our own product. So in this case, I've added a new bit of functionality into Cake Common. So when I tried to build Cake using Cake, it didn't have knowledge of that new chocolatey export settings class that I created, so it wasn't able to find it. So I'm hoping that what this is going to do, because I haven't dug into this side of the code actually, I'm hoping that what this is going to do is it's going to build Cake with Cake. It's then going to use that newly built version of Cake to run the integration tests that I just created. He says. I could be completely off with what my assumption there is, but I'm going to try it. I'm still not getting any chat coming through. Would anyone be in the position to do a search for any sort of status or problems with Streamlabs? Because I'm genuinely curious as to why my chat's not coming through. While I do this build. And it's not the answer I was looking for, Corey. Why? What's the hatred with Streamlabs? By the way, have I missed a memo? I understand that Streamlabs is built off is a commercial offering on top of what is OBS. I get that, but is that the hatred, or is there other issues as well? And Christopher's saying that there has been problems the last hour. Oh, okay. So maybe I'm not losing it, which is good. Top 3 best fixes in 2022. Launch Streamlabs and log into Twitch. Did that. Add the widget. Did that. Name the source. Done that. Refresh Streamlabs. The first thing you should do is refresh the chat box. There's a refresh button right above the chat. Oh, there's not. I don't see a refresh button. There is a refresh button right above the chat. You can also log out and log in after refreshing to see whether it's back. Oh no, it's talking about a different refresh, chat. It's talking about that one. Okay, so that looks better. So now we're in a failed test, which is the test that I've just added, which is good, I think. No. Dash, dash. Have I done that round the wrong way? I bet I have. I always do that. I always get my Boolean logic round the wrong way. If, where was that change? If settings output path is not equal to null. No, that's right. So why did that? And it's also, that's going to be a problem, obviously, because of the file path. But so first up then, didn't the cake fix the problem with directory separators? If so, then it shouldn't be a problem. Well, that's an unrelated. So that's, I see what you're saying, Kim, but my test is now wrong in the sense that I have a fixture that sets up C, or have I got the wrong file path for Windows? But that shouldn't make any difference. But I see what you're saying. So if I go in here and do a C, yeah, it is, Christopher. It is the gift that keeps on giving. Now I've rebased 2. Let's see. So far, so good. And it wants a backslash. So there's prior art for it being the forward slash, and this one wants backslash. But I think it's to do with the fact that I've changed it to a file path, and that file path is using a forward slash when what I'm expecting, what I'm asserting on, is a backslash. So the question becomes, why would that not work? But I would have expected that to. Why can't things ever just be simple? Unit, tools, chocolatey. File paths are always converted to forward slash. File paths are always converted to file. But I shouldn't need to. There's the test. Where's my fixture? So my fixture up here says tools, chocolatey, export. Here, then, well, maybe it's not in the fixture then. So in here, I have said that well, from what I was reading there, this is us asserting on the generated output, the generated command line that's passed to chocolatey ultimately from the export command. So in here, the expected is -- output file path C /temp, but what got output was C/temp. So before, it was just a string, and as a result, it passed. But now that it is a file path, it's failing. So if I continue to look for temp here, there will be an output file path. I went past it. It was there. It was this one. So I'm inputting ctemp and I'm expecting to get ctemp back, but instead what I'm getting is that. So my question here for the audience is that a valid change to the unit test, or should I be doing something else to the inline data to make it work everywhere without having to hard code it? Because if I do that and I run my integration tests again, then I think it will pass that test. And then there's just the other one, which was expected that with output file path that, which is what Kim was suggesting, because of the fact that the file path was never null. So it's always just outputting it's always just out. I've got too many open things now, it's going to annoy me. So the check that I was doing here for the output file path was, this is incorrect then, because it's always outputting that with nothing in it. So what is the correct check for a file path to ensure that there's something in it? And I thought there was prior art for doing this with Chocolatey, but obviously there's not. So let's close the fixtures down again and we'll go and try and find one. I'm trying to keep these tests as consistent as possible, but it's proving somewhat difficult. File path, new spec file path. We haven't done, I don't really want to do that, but I'll come back to what Kim suggested there in a second. So cake.common, back into here, and then the pack tests, which is this one. If it's null, then we do that. Otherwise, we pass it through. Okay, so we're down to one failed test, which is what that is. And what Kim is suggesting then is in the exporter tests, what Kim is suggesting is over on the exporter, which is where we're playing with it. So rather than doing a not equals null, Kim is suggesting if you do, shouldn't you simply set the inline data to null? Well, that would be checking something else though, Nils. The problem here is this one. So the problem at the minute is that the output file path is being output to the command line because this check is always true. But Kim is suggesting that if I do is not null, hold on. No, the first parameter of the second test. The first parameter. It's the same test. I've only got one test for the output file path. Or you're talking here. Oh, I see what you're saying. But is it not the case that an empty string, we would also want it to, so we need a third inline data then, is what you're getting at. I think that's what you're getting at. Yes. But okay, so is it correct? Okay, so let's talk about this. So is it correct? Do we need a third test where inline data is an empty string, i.e., I don't know how you would get that though, but no, you could get that. And in that scenario, we wouldn't want the output file path to be passed through. And then Kim's saying, oh, I didn't notice that the inline data used an empty string, which would make sense if it was never null then. Well, having an empty string is not a real good value for, and I agree with that, but is it possible? I don't, so, but if we do this then, you're suggesting that that would be equal to file path dot from string. Yeah. I don't know. Let's see if we can get it to work. Feature not pattern is not available in C#8. Please use language C#9 or later, which I think we are, right? So why is that not working? Are we pinning to a specific? It just be file path dot from. Okay, now we're going into a different direction. I just want to do a test. Oh, this is so not what tonight was meant to be about. I know I've done this, but I just can't think where. I would simply test for null. If something enters a garbled. Okay then. So I'm going to go back to what I had here then. It's not equal to null, and you're going to suggest that I do this. Fine, I'm okay with that. If we get past the PR review, I'm happy. The version in Cake just doesn't support. The version in Cake doesn't support is not statements in that case. Just a suggestion, but maybe change the if statement. String.is null or empty. Seriously. The directory is not empty. I'm sure it's not. You wouldn't set output path in the command line, would you? You would omit it. The C# syntax language version used for Cake, or at least internally. So hard to read the chat when it's not on the stream. I normally read it when it's just there. But anyway. So if we get past this, we can maybe get to what I actually wanted to achieve tonight, which was an update to the Cake's Visual Studio extension. I should go and look. Oh, I'm not even logged into there to find the. Let's see if I can find it on my phone while that build's running. So what we're searching for here was Cake extension. What's the chances I can find that on my phone? No, no. Let's do another search. I don't even remember what email account it came into. No. Or if I have that email account on this phone, I might have to go to my old Mac and look at it. There was definitely an email. Would it have been, if you didn't see it, Nils, then that would suggest it might have come into the Cake build account rather than the Cake team account. I don't know if I have that on this phone or not. No. 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 No, I don't have that on this account. Would I be able to get logged in there while that build's running? Let's open up a new one over here. So I know I'm not showing anything on screen just now, but I'm Cake build. Outlook, where is it? Look. There, no. Okay, hyphen build. Hyphen build. Let's try that one. Copy password. Sign in. Cake hyphen build. Pasty, pasty, paste. Sure. There we go. It's in the Cake build Outlook account. And it's to do with old. We determined that the issue is the result of extensions not being updated to Visual Studio 2022 properly due to marking VS 2022 as compatible in the V6 manifest, but not referencing the new SDK PIA interop assembly and its dependencies. We've identified that one of your extensions contributes to this issue. We strongly recommend that you update and republish your V6 with the new VS 2022 compatible references, including the MDTE. Whatever that means. So that's the one that I'm actually trying to get to. But I think those are the integration tests running now, right? That's not an actual error from the build, although that looks like an exception. So I don't know if you were involved in that stream, Kim, but the way that Visual Studio extensions work now is, or at least in 2022, is we've got two projects. So if your extension is a relatively simple extension where it doesn't have any C# code, then you can just add 2022 as an additional build target and you use a single project. But if, like the Cake extension, when you're doing more stuff, you actually have to use a split project structure. So you create a new project that specifically targets 2022 and newer, and you keep your existing project that's targeting 2019 and older. And then the recommendation is you create a shared project for all of the common code between them. So that's what we did on stream a while back. So what I think they're suggesting here is in the 2022 project, where we just kind of copied the 2019 one and made it work. I think in the 2022 project, we need to change the references to pull in the new VS22 compatible references and leave the older project the same as it was before. Now, some of those integration tests are failing, but I haven't changed any of those integration tests. So add permitted. What happened there? Admiring Worm used add permitted term NuGet update. What did that mean? What did that do? Is it just a NuGet update there? Christopher, I genuinely don't know. Possibly. Or we need to reference a new package. It does say in the v6 manifest, but not referencing the new SDK PIA interop DLL and its dependencies. So how can I validate whether my extension has dependencies on the old assembly? You can try to validate the extension's reference by following the steps below, and it's running lots of things to generate a result.txt file. So yeah, there's a few things we need to try there. But I want to get this PR updated so that we can move on to that one. Automod stopped the message because it contained. I see. It's trying to be a little bit smarter than your average bot. Never seen that happen before. But thank you for doing that. So I think Kim is right when he suggested that these are now going to take a while to run. So do those tests run every time we do a PR build? Because if they do, I might just let it run. PRs. This one. And what did it? Copy. Paste. 16 successful checks, which includes Azure integration tests on AppBear. So I'm tempted just to push it and kill this. I don't know how much longer this is going to take. I'm tempted just to kill it. Because what I don't know is, let's actually have a look at the AppBear build. See, all these failed. I don't know if those are good or bad, to be honest. There's quite a few tests created when it ran that integration test. Uninstall. You know what? I'm gonna kill it. So where do we get to with this? We got to the point where we had made a change to be change that to be a file path. That's fine. We changed that to be a spelling mistake and for it to be a file path. We changed the inline data to make them the same, and we added the integration tests. So that means that, hold on. Should we have not had a new file added there? This one. Why is that being grayed out? There must be something in the gitignore file that is causing that not to be added. Why would that? Why would it be failing to pick that up? Oh, seriously? It's not going to be my night tonight, is it? Gitignore. Cake. Okay. That in itself wouldn't explain why it's not being added. There's another gitignore file here, which then find comment. No. Tools. This whole folder's being ignored. Why is that whole folder being ignored? Is it taking umbrage at the, no? I mean, I could force it, but I don't really want to. Oh, really? Oh, you're right enough. That's just rude. CD tests integration ls cd cake.common ls cd tools git add chocolatey, is it -f? Yeah, -f. I really want to. Better. I'm just going to do what the last person must have done as well, Nils, because that's just not, it's out with the scope of this PR, is how I'm going to frame it. Well, need Rebase. Just going to check if integration tests work. Let's do that. Do this. Git push origin. All right, that's gonna kick off a build. Maybe is that gonna kick off a build? I'm looking at it. Looking at it. Right, it's running. Right, so let's read through this email again. Now it says, okay, public key token version. Okay, fine. Right, let's see if we can figure out how to test if this thing is referencing the old PIA version. So if we go into here, I shouldn't close that off. So CD into C, GitHub, organizations, cake. and cake hyphen vs get fetch upstream, get rebase upstream. Oh, someone's left a message. Oh, is that just going to keep, is that you doing that, Maurice, or does that come up intermittently when it says working on changing? Oh, I see what you did. I see what you did. Good thinking. So if we do this, it's you. That's what I thought. So let's build the cake extension for Visual Studio. And then it says we can run some code in the developer command prompt, which is here. And it says we can run the ildasm command, which can be found. That seems like a long-winded way of doing it, but let's do it, and we'll see what happens. Then it wants me to provide the path to the. That's going to want a backslash, which I can't give it on this keyboard easily. Organizations, cake build, cake hyphen vs. So where did it generate its output to? So in the dist folder, that's where the v6s are. So I suspect then in here, in the bin folder, that's just been updated tonight, which is in there. So in here, there is a cake.visualstudio.dll. Okay, fine. So back into our ildasm, and it's going to want to take that path and then cake.visualstudio.dll. I don't know, Kim. It's been a while since I've looked at this, so I don't think so. No, the build is the, yeah, no, is the simple answer. If we do that, and then we suggest that the output is c temp result.txt. Okay, didn't die. Temp result.txt. Let's open that up in Notepad++. And then if we search in here for envdte, it says, which is there, but there's lots of them. So let's try something else. No. Let's try searching for something else then. 8:0:0:0:0:0. Doesn't say that there's one of those either. Huh. Their check for what's going on is not very useful. Eight zero. Oh, hold on. Okay, how many of these are there? Find all in current document. Okay, so what I'm looking at in this file doesn't look like what it looks like in the example. Hold on. Where's the count button? Oh, look at that. I did not know that. Look at that. I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever pushed that count button in Notepad++. I'll be honest. But in the example that I got in this email, where it says how I can check if I'm referencing the old PIA assemblies, it tells me that I can do that by running this command and then looking at the output. I'm never too old to learn. Indeed. I think that's very true, Maurice. Unless, did I get that command right? So it's ILDASM text path to the DLL and then output result.txt. And then it says check for references in the result.txt file. And the suggestion there is to search for EMVDTE80 and then check the public key token and the version that's being used. But I'm not seeing anything like the output that they provided in the screenshot in the file that's been generated. Oh, hold on. This looks more like the output. Okay. And then I want ENV. I don't have any reference to ENVE. So what is its problem? Let's have a wee look in Visual Studio directly then. I'm going to forward you this email to have a look at as well, Nils. Can I just forward it to your Cake account? Nils. Send. I've forwarded it to you to have a look at. And let's open, because it says it was sent in November and it was a high priority issue at the time and I kind of ignored it. See GitHub organizations, Cake build, Cake VS, Cake Visual Studio. So for anyone that missed what we did before, so this is what we've got, Kim. I know you were asking this. So we've got this Cake Visual Studio shared project, and then we have a specific project that is for 2022 and above. And this is the original extension that is 2019 and below. So in here, this has a reference to the shared project, and this one also has the same reference to the shared project. And by reading this email from this person, it's saying, our investigation of the existing issue is that this happens when Visual Studio 2015 and Visual Studio 2022 are installed side by side, which is why it only occurred for a subset of customers. Nevertheless, referencing older versions of VS SDK assemblies, so we have a reference here, which is that one. I'm assuming that's what they're referring to by the VS SDK. Assembly is not supported, especially for the APIs and types that we've listed as breaking or altered. If you are doing so and find that your extensions work today, we make no guarantees that they will continue to work in the future. Extension authors could also find themselves in a situation where their extensions negatively impacts users due to untested workflows. From the product team's perspective, we do not promise support to extension authors who do not follow the recommendation and reference older versions of VS SDK. We also reserve the right to mark these extensions as incompatible should we find that VS is negatively affected by them. For the time being, instead of making V6 Validator hard block any extensions that reference older assemblies, we will do a soft block and warn extension owners. And since this particular scenario is niche enough that it only affects side-by-side installs, we will not be marking them as incompatible yet. We will be pushing out changes in the coming months to warn both extension authors as well as extension consumers if they're creating or using an extension that are built with older versions of the VS SDK. We will share more details about this in the future. Okay. I'm still very much confused. So in this project, we reference the Visual Studio SDK, which is a NuGet. That's a NuGet package, right? I thought I did, Kim. That is the Visual Studio 2022 bin release, yes. So I'm assuming that, or my assumption was GitHub organization. Well, let's just do a sanity check. Let's do a straight up Cake VS dist. Let's just nuke that one from orbit. We'll go into the sources folder. We'll go into here and we will delete those. Every time I do this, I always say I need to create a script that will do this for me, but I never do go and write it. I just go into the folders manually like a Neanderthal and delete them all. So let's just make sure that everything is removed and back to here, and we'll do another build. Yep. Still nothing in my Streamlabs chat. I haven't checked any of the messages that you sent through Corey because, well, I can't. Not really. Let's see if that works. Perfect. Okay, so that build succeeded. So we go back into here and we look at the 2022 folder in its bin folder in the release. Then there should be a cake.visualstudio.dll. Okay, and back over here, if we run that again, that should then say updated. Still not seeing a reference to there. Maybe they're just using the envdte as an example, at which point is there an older version of, because those are all 17 at the minute. Let's count these. Look, I used the count button. 23 of them, so it's not too bad. Visual Studio, that's a 17. Text. Those all look like updated references to me. There was one shell 15. Did I miss that? No. Oh, you're talking about this one, maybe? I could go way off in a different direction. Microsoft Visual Studio Shell. Maybe. Microsoft. No. Where does that one come from? Microsoft Visual Studio Shell. Count them again. It's 320. Extern. Okay. So it's got a reference to it. But extends. There's going to be lots of those as well, isn't there? 116. So look here. Microsoft dot Visual Studio dot Shell dot 15. No, there's no mention of that. So we look in here for dot interop. Dot 15. Nope. So what I'm looking at is there is a, let's bring this into the stream. There is a page here that references SDK package references, and it's saying anything that was pre-Visual Studio would have used this, but anything in the new Visual Studio needs to be updated to this. So I just went through there wondering if there was something that needed to be updated. But I didn't see anything obviously. ENV. I don't really want to go through all of these, to be honest. Extensibility. No, I'm not even, I can't even be bothered doing that. So why can't they just tell me which one I'm missing? Well, maybe if we log into there and log, so what's going through my head just now is if we, yeah, so I think that's the one I found, Maurice. If that was Maurice. there was reference to this dude where, but it's also version 17. So I think that's okay. But it explicitly says shell.15, which is the concerning part. But then I don't see an explicit reference to Microsoft.visualstudio.shell. And this one, I mean, is it as simple as saying what Christopher said? Is it just the case of updating the NuGet package? So the latest, we pulled in a preview version. So now that there is a released version, I mean, there would be no harm in updating that, correct? He says. Let's update it. Sure. Only 1 hour of your time. What does that mean? Update. I like the idea of this SDK analyzers project. Oh, hopefully not. Hopefully it won't take long to update Maurice now. There's a lot of things in there. Updates, env DTE from the preview. I don't know, Kim. So what Kim is suggesting on chat is that could it be because the project has a reference to the xunit.runner.visual studio, which supports VS 2017 plus, which in my head doesn't make sense of why it is there. Well, that doesn't look good. We just broke the NuGet window. Oh, I'm going to update all these projects. So no, the XUnit Runner Visual Studio, that's more just about allowing the execution of unit tests within the Visual Studio test runner, isn't it? I don't think that's like a development dependency as opposed to, why is that one still in preview? The latest, let's get to stable versions of everything rather than sure. So XUnit, that's a pre-release, so let's take that one off. Okay, fine, but what was that one? Oh, that was the pre-release of the one that we just updated to. Okay, fine. Let's do a quick build of that. Yeah, I'm fairly sure that the unit runner Visual Studio. xunit.runner.visual. It should have no bearing on the build itself. Test Explorer runner for XUnit framework capable of running. Yeah, I don't think that's going to have any bearing, Kim, if I'm honest. Okay. There's a bunch of warnings and stuff, but that's not unheard of in Visual Studio extension projects. So that's what I was going to check. I was going to go and check to see if there was a specific warning in the Visual Studio Marketplace when we're logged in as the publisher. So if we go in here and say publish extensions, and I'm signed in as this dude, then I'm wondering if there's any warnings with regard to our extension that we've published. So we've got one there for Cake.Visual Studio 2022, which was published 5 months ago, but it doesn't say that there's any warnings. More actions. There's our reports. That just tells us when it was installed. Yeah, I don't know. It is specifying specific. It is talking specifically about the v6 manifest file as well. So we haven't looked at that yet. So is there something in the manifest, which is this guy, that we need to update? So in here, it doesn't have any dependencies. Oh, no, that's right, isn't it? What is the v6 for this one set to? Yeah, that was all the 15 ones. So we removed all of those. Fine. Install targets are between the two. Metadata. Is it this? Should that be? I always forget what the numbers mean again. Visual Studio 2022 is version 17. Yeah, 2022 is 17x. That's what I thought. So lower end must be 17, whereas this one, it's basically saying less than 17. So from 15 to less than 17. Okay. So I don't see anything in the manifest that is concerning me then. In the assets, Not seeing anything that concerns me there either. We determined that this issue is the result of extensions not being updated to Visual Studio 22 properly due to marking VS22 as compatible in the V6 manifest, but not referencing the new SDK PIA Microsoft.visualstudio.interrupt DLL and its dependencies. So if I look at that and I look back in here, is there an extern to that? There is, and that is to version 17. So unless the only thing I can think now is that the thing that I published was broken. So how then do I get the V6 for 2022? Oh, I can just download it. Let's do that. Okay, so I've just downloaded the V6 directly for 2022. So if I grab that guy and move this over to here, so this is just a fancy zip file. So we should be able to change that and extract it. And then in here, we should have a cake.visual studio, which is this guy. So let's grab that. And let's back to here. And take this part off. There we go. And then we look back at this thing then. Control F8 0 0 0. There's no mention of that. There's no mention of 15. I can't see anything wrong with that. Let's do a search for envdte. envdte. Take off match case. Oh, no, we found that one before, didn't we? Oh, hold on. Let's have a wee search in here. Is it this that it's complaining about? We have a couple of places where we're using env DTE 8.0. What happens if I just delete that? And this thing here isn't going to work. I wonder. Could it be that? and it's a roundabout way trying to tell us that we shouldn't be using that. Now, the other side of this is this is only used in a couple of places. And I'm wondering whether we don't need it once we remove the functionality that we're not using anymore. So, are you still there, Nils? What functionality do we actually want the Visual Studio Cake extension to have anymore? But that's because this thing here is DTE2. So now we get into, I don't actually know, Maurice. DTE and D_DTE typecast failures. Okay. I mean, I'm more than happy to put that back again. But that would suggest that I'm so lost. Should we remove the env_DTE package? We don't have an env_DTE package, I don't think. Unless it's a transitive dependency. Line 8 of the code. That's using link. Put that one back the way it was, and we'll put this one back the way it was. Line 10. You're talking about the using statement. Yeah, I don't know, Maurice. Project does not contain a definition for is kind. I honestly don't know. But what I'm wondering is whether we care in the sense of, depending on what functionality we are going to end up retaining, can we just ignore all of these warnings when we remove one of these env_DTE things, because we actually won't have that code anymore. So in terms of raw functionality, if we were to look at the cake build, then a lot of these go away because we don't have them anymore. I don't think we're going to have the project templates as they currently exist, Nils. Is that what we decided? So all of the work in the shared project where we have, not in the shared project, all of these where we have the templates, all of these I think can pretty much go away because we're not going to have them anymore. Because we're going to have something else. I forget what we decided. Nils is saying that's probably not the case. Okay. In which case, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Part of me kind of wants to do the work because the email mentioned that potentially there would be a warning when you uploaded it. We will be pushing out changes in the coming months to warn both extension authors as well as extension consumers if they are creating or using an extension that are built with older versions of the VS SDK. We will share more details about this in the future. So I'm wondering if we did the work of updating the extension to kind of baseline the functionality, whether when we pushed it or we attempted to push it, whether it would fail. Kim saying could be related to usage of deprecated API used in the VS22 edition since they are said to not work. Legacy. Legacy find API. Where do you? As part of our efforts to modernize finding files, we have deprecated support of the following APIs of the env DTE interfaces in 2022. Find pattern. Okay. Replace pattern. Replace text. Okay. Find text. Okay. Find pattern. Nope. Replace text. That was test, I think. No, replace text. Replace pattern. And then replace text. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not sure. I'm starting to wonder whether this was kind of a blanket email. Or no, hold on. Hold on. I'm just reading this a little bit closer now. I'm so very confused now. The email says, hold on, Visual Studio Marketplace. Okay. I'm gonna search for cake here. So there's two. There's cake for Visual Studio and there's cake for Visual Studio 2022. Now, the email that we got states we've identified that one of your extensions contributes to this issue and it's cake for VS. Now, we don't have an extension called cake for VS, but the fact that it doesn't say cake for VS 2022, would that suggest that it's actually this one that's causing the problem, as opposed to cake for Visual Studio 2022? Or am I reading too much into that? Because it wouldn't have an updated reference to excuse me, it wouldn't have an updated reference to ENTTE because it supports that one. So confused. But you know what? This is a job for a different day. Because why did those screenshots work in one but not the other again? How did we get it to work? I forget what we did there. You know what? I'm done. I'm tired. It's time to go to bed. We didn't get much done today. Oh, we should check on that PR. Let's see how far we got. GitHub.com/cake build cake pull requests. Oh, okay. It doesn't look like it failed. So if we look at the checks, and one of these should have been the integration tests, and one of these should hopefully have been chocolate export. No. Let's just I sort of want to see page unresponsive. Sure, let's just wait a second. I'm fairly sure that's the same number from the last build. But if that's the case, then why Control F, chocolate export. There's no mention of chocolate export. Oh, no, hold on. That's the unit test. That's not the integration test. Why is my mouse, why is it not updating? I think we broke the search on Google Chrome. Sure, just wait. I think we broke it. So board details. Let's try again. I think you're maybe right, Kim, that it was truncated. No, no, it's not. That's the full build. So did it run the integration tests? The only mention of integration tests is it's called, I'm so very confused now. Continuous, oh, I maybe read that wrong. I need to talk to Matthias about when the tests actually run, I think. I just assume that they're getting run. Nils, do you happen to know? It's been so long, I feel like I'm out of touch with some of this stuff. When do the integration tests actually get run? Integration. Oh, here we go. Validate integration tests. Test integration common. No, that's only for a single instance of it. When do the other integration tests run? I need to ask that question to the team. But okay, I'm gonna call it. Tonight we attempted to do some cake work. The idea was that we would update a PR that I have for adding chocolate export command into cake aliases. Got that PR updated after a little bit of backwards and forwards. Thought I was going to run the integration tests, but I don't think they're running. So I'll need to speak to Matthias about when those tests get run to verify that I haven't broken something. Then we went off to try and look at an email that we got from the Visual Studio team about updating our incompatible VS 2022 extension, but I don't see anything wrong with it, to be honest. So I might need to follow up with the person from Microsoft about it, see if they can provide more information about exactly what is or is not broken. And they run on the Azure. Let me come back to that, Kim. And if we can get an email back from them to say this is exactly what's wrong, then we can get it updated and we'll push out a new version. What would be good though, Nils, might be good to sit and have a conversation about stuff that we want to remain in the Visual Studio extension. So I might try and carve out some time to have a chat and we can go through what we do and what we don't want. I know we've kind of talked around it before, but I think we need to capture what we are going to do going forward. So if you're up for that, which sounds like you are, and then to finish off this one, Kim's saying that it's run on the Azure build. So that would be one of... So the Azure builds didn't fail, but I still want to kind of see that the Azure pipelines... This one then, maybe? So, ooh, integration tests. Okay. So let's have a look in here. Integration tests. Search. Chocolati export. Build cake with cake. I'm not seeing it is, as you say, running the integration tests, but I'm not seeing any mention of either chocolatey or exports. So what am I missing? Is it going to be in here? No. I don't know. No, no, chocolatey should definitely be available. Should definitely be there. There's no reason, assuming that the build agent is the same as the one on GitHub Actions, which I'm almost convinced it is, then Choco is already available on the box. So it's not that. But then do we not do the same on here then? Validate. Oh, that's what we looked at. That was just a single one. Anyway, okay, so that was me. I was done. I said I was done a couple of minutes ago. I am done this time. Thank you all for hanging out. Don't know why the I don't know why the chat wasn't working. I will need to look into that. And yes, thanks for joining the stream. Thank you, Maurice. And we will definitely not go down deeper in the rabbit hole. Thank you for your time. I will talk to you all later. Thank you very much. Bye bye.